insurgents struck Djibo. Dozens of soldiers lost their lives. The target? Many believe it was none other than Captain Ibrahim Traoré. His name didn't appear among the fallen. But was this a failed assassination attempt? Is Burkina Faso's leader now in the crosshairs? Let's uncover what really happened. Chaos screamed from the headlines. After storming a military installation and terminating dozens of people, affiliate insurgency gunmen vanished into thin air. But something colder and more calculating lies beneath Djibo's violence. This was more than just combat. It was bait, and they intended to entice Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Take a closer look. No territory was taken by the attackers. They didn't plunder. They didn't plant flags or hostage citizens. Their actions were far more calculated. They hit hard, captured the wreckage on camera, disappeared, and left a faceless problem in their wake. Then, as expected, the foreign news networks lit up. Burkina Faso is becoming less dominant. An increase in insurgents. Is Traoré failing? Before the smoke cleared, the script was ready. There is no insurgency there. Provocation is what that is. Djibo wasn't the attack's true target. Traoré was to be cornered, to cause a mistake, to keep him apart, to frighten the populace into uncertainty. Perhaps the captain's invincibility isn't so great after all, as his opponents both inside and outside begin to talk. And it came close to working. The extraordinary increase in communications, coded briefings, intelligence routes, and indirect outreach to moderate groups inside Burkina Faso's bureaucracy was reported by diplomatic contacts in the region within 48 hours. To put it simply, Djibo made it possible for a soft coup to start the forming process, the type in which no bullets are fired. But Traoré's influence over decisions begins to wane. This strategy is outdated. Many years ago, and it never changes, a national figure rises first. He talks about independence, pride, and land. He strikes agreements without going via Washington or Paris. He begins to gain the affection of both metropolitan youth and the impoverished in rural areas. He becomes a symbol, not just for his country, but for all of Africa. Then suddenly, his adversaries show up. They occasionally don uniforms. They occasionally don badges from NGOs. At times, they remain silent and allow the pandemonium to speak for itself. However, the objective is always the same. Discredit the emblem, rock his base. Without a martyr, remove him. That symbol is now Traoré. The first attempt to undermine his myth was Djibo. They wished to ensnare him in a desperate conflict. Deplete his resources, make him call for foreign assistance, alternatively, cause internal fractures that allow them to be removed without contaminating any foreign hands. And there are shadows all around him now. Advisors are alerting him to the presence of surveillance drones close to his motorcade routes. In strategic border areas, communications are being blocked. Support packages offered by international organizations have conditions hidden in the fine print. The front lines are no longer where the fight is fought. It is circling the chair of the president. Now, the question is whether Traoré can stay one step ahead of the game and recognize the trap for what it is. Since Djibo wasn't a single incident, in a much lengthier game that doesn't conclude with a single attack, it was an opening move. And they won't have to shoot again if Traoré makes a mistake today. Add your voice to the total liberation of Africa by leaving a comment in the comments section below. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more informative videos like this one. Let's proceed. Burkina Faso's borders have not been breached by any army. There has been no open antagonism from any foreign force. Nevertheless, Ibrahim Traoré is encircled. This is how coups nowadays start, with tension instead of tanks, with created silence, not missiles. Additionally, the battlefield is no longer under pressure following Djibo. It's getting closer to Traoré, day by day, channel by channel. That no longer occurs, handshake by handshake. It starts in Western finances boardrooms. International investors have sucky pulled out of infrastructure projects since the incident. The risk profiles of development banks have been reevaluated. Regional insurance underwriters have raised rates on trade corridors and shipping routes that are located on Burkina Faso. Everything appears to be sound financial behavior on paper. In reality, it's economic pressure disguised as caution. The trap is lovely. Traoré, having refused to succumb to the ILF and other debt lords, now faces a liquidity freeze without a single sanction being issued. The tide of gold trade slows down. Audits of mining stall. Subcontractors from abroad run away. And it's all meant to communicate the same thing. You can't function without us. This siege isn't just economic though. It's tactful. High-ranking Western officials have been silent since Djibo. Embassies have cut back on engagement. No condolence messages, no offers of assistance. Just a well-planned absence that makes a big impression, but pressure is mounting behind the scenes. Envoys to ECOWAS states are reportedly urging neighboring leaders to distance themselves from Burkina Faso, painting Traoré as reckless, unstable, and dangerous to regional peace. The objective: confinement, political incarceration. They will make him a pariah if they are unable to get rid of him. At the same time, a more pernicious front is emerging: warfare through narrative. The headlines were harsh and quick after Djibo. Traoré is losing his hold. Burkina Faso's security is crumbling. But listen, Burkina-based sources were cited in almost none of the stories. Nearly all of them used external displays. Analysts who are anonymous. Briefings that had already been prepared were distributed through well-known Western channels. This goes beyond biased reporting. It's manipulation of perception. A methodical dismantling of legitimacy. Allies will be hesitant if they think Traoré is losing. Local confidence will crumble and investments will freeze. The hope is that destroy his backing without ever going up against him. However, how internal actors start to give in to this pressure is what really makes the siege hazardous. Formerly faithful bureaucrats now remain silent during meetings. Regional governors start to postpone directives. Concerned about being placed on foreign blacklists, some military officers begin to prioritize their own survival over national defense. Isolation turns into suffocating in this way. Without a single bomb being dropped, a revolution dies like this. Perhaps what irritates them the most, though, is that Traoré is still standing. Because he escaped the Djibo trap. He has not been broken by the financial strain. He is unfazed by the media frenzy. Be certain, however, that the noose is still being tightened. Silently, always, with patience. Traoré won't have to fall unless the circle is broken down. Till the Burkina Faso he fought for, the dream of an African nation rising tall without permission, becomes just another cautionary tale spoken in whispers. He will simply be cut off, inch by inch. Another arm of this conflict lurks covertly beneath the surface, as the financial noose tightens and diplomacy becomes icy. Employing violence as a regulated political instrument, Djibo was overrun by affiliate militants who weren't renegade operatives on a religious mission. The cover stories that, in actuality, they were a part of a well-planned performance that was released with surgical precision to destabilize rather than to conquer. They are not autonomous actors. These are weapons that invisible clients rent. This is how the game functions. Territories are not held by these tribes for very long. Governance is not something they create. They don't make policy announcements. They repeatedly hit vital places in the neural system of the state. This is a base. There's a road, a reserve of grain, a dam that generates electricity, just enough to interrupt always, to elicit, to reveal. Then they disappear. It's not a philosophy. It serves a purpose. Such insurgents do not require knowledge of geopolitics. A place at the table is not necessary for them. Creating the pressure that pushes someone else's agenda through the back door is their goal. After a single strike in the north, a foreign security plan appears out of nowhere. A delayed foreign mining contract is up for renegotiation after one bomb goes off on a convoy. Is it a coincidence? Ask any analyst who has observed this Libyan playbook, or Mali, or Sudan. The raids come first. Next came the rumors. The vultures came next. The writing is being contested this time though. Burkina Faso poses a threat because of this. Traoré is not turning to the typical suspects for assistance. He is not urging the world community to act as a mediator. He's refusing to let troops from the same governments who sponsor non-governmental organizations come in and help provide stability. The cycle is then broken. They've turned up the insurgents like a volume dial because of this. More assaults, more murmurs, more headlines. However, who is operating that dial? Take a look at the arms flowing. None of these affiliated organizations produce firearms. They don't manage supply chains. They do not disseminate propaganda in 5 languages or finance their own communications networks. That is being supplied by someone. Someone with interests, resources, and access. Furthermore, it isn't a bush-dwelling bearded leader. The men are dressed in suits. Corporate intermediaries, overseas handlers, retired intelligence personnel operating under covert circumstances. No missiles are being launched by them. Shipments are being authorized by them, refraining from dropping bombs. However, authorizing payment plans for tribal security partners and cooperative informants. They make the pandemonium appear local. However, the fingerprints, they're not from here. Furthermore, complete collapse is not the aim. It's a controlled disturbance. Just enough bloodshed to undermine Burkina Faso's government apparatus. Just enough terror to undermine popular confidence. Just enough terror to give Traoré a helpless appearance. However, not enough to start a complete revolution. Because losing control would result from a complete collapse, and they want to maintain power. Thus, these insurgent affiliates, these alleged adversaries of the Western world, frequently show up right on schedule to further Western objectives. It's no coincidence. It's a strategy. Traoré is aware of it. His group is aware of it. The public is starting to suspect it. However, suspicion is no longer sufficient. Not when internal disturbance is being used as a cover for proxy conflict. Because a country bleeds. However, the wounds always appear when its adversaries are least prepared. An accident is not what you're looking at. You are observing an operation. And that operation has a name in Burkina Faso. Recalibration of the regime. That's the question. Who will be on the list next? Is that Traoré? Most leaders either freeze or fall when surrounded. However, Captain Ibrahim Traoré is taking an unusual action. He's constructing, not merely bunkers or barricades. However, a brand new state model. Formed under stress. Intended to endure without international approval, was meant to motivate people throughout the continent. While investors circle the economy, affiliate militants strike the north. Traoré is establishing the framework for a Burkina Faso that is parallel. One purposefully cut off from the mechanisms that initially exposed it to danger. He's doing it in silence too. First, there is a militarization of domestic production. For sovereignty, not for war. Burkina Faso has been allocating emergency cash in recent months to rural defense networks that function outside of official bureaucracies, small-scale energy grids, and domestic food manufacturing. Press releases are not what these are. These revolutions are silent. It's an obvious message. If they ignore us, we will eventually find a way to survive. Second, Traoré is transforming the old choke points into new economic corridors. Trade routes are being redirected inland, away from ports under Western surveillance, in collaboration with Mali and Nigeria. The opening of a northward land and supply route to the Mediterranean, through Sahelian terrain, is apparently the subject of a new deal with Algeria. A logistical nightmare. But it's worth figuring out. This goes beyond simple logistics. It represents a symbolic rejection of inherited topography and maps created to guarantee reliance on colonial coasts and railroads. Third, resistance is becoming digitalized in Burkina Faso. Many people misjudged Traoré's move when he secretly hired local developers to start creating safe, offline-capable communication platforms. This decentralized system could maintain civilian cooperation, even in the event that national networks are disrupted by foreign-backed actors. Why is this important? Because overthrowing has always begun with control of the narrative. The loudest voice comes from the last person to speak. Traoré is preparing for the time when knowledge turns into a battlefield, because he does not want to be silenced. Traoré is turning ideology into institutional memory, which is the fourth and possibly most strategic move. A new philosophy that Burkina Faso must never again be governed by outside forces is being drafted in schools, youth councils, civil training programs, and even military academies. This nationalism isn't hollow, it's a means of survival. Any revolt that is not based on an ideology is susceptible to infiltration, as history has demonstrated. Furthermore, it appears that Traoré is aware that ideas outlive bullets. He is currently constructing institutions that don't require approval from the West to operate, something previous leaders like Sankara died before finishing. All of this is taking place while under attack though. While foreign agents snoop on his inner circle, affiliate insurgents attack supply lines, and investment stops. This isn't an answer. It is a retaliatory attack, with wisdom, not with force. Burkina Faso may not be able to outsmart its adversaries, but it can outlast them in terms of attention span, since Traoré appears to grasp one harsh reality. Traoré is placing a wager on gradual permanence if the empire depends on shock and disruption. The notion that he creates for history while they scramble for headlines. Thus, this may be the true tale while everyone waits for another explosion. A new nation is silently emerging in the midst of a siege. In Djibo, Ibrahim Traoré has survived the ambush. He has avoided being alone. While under attack, he has started to discreetly construct a new Burkina Faso. However, survival is not the goal. This is the initial test. Because it won't be a PR campaign or a war on the battlefield. It will be something more riskier. The point at which his people and system start to pose the query that all revolutions dread. How much longer can we wait? Avoiding the next attack is no longer Traoré's biggest obstacle. It is demonstrating that his vision is more effective than fear. He must stop fighting collapse and begin producing outcomes. Because only internal disenchantment has the power to destroy a nation, while militants can terrorize a region. At this point, outside forces will step up their efforts, not with physical force, but with offers of exclusive bargains, technical support, and seduction. Conditional clauses are linked to humanitarian corridors, all of which are wrapped in a sense of urgency for the people. It was all intended to use wariness, rather than violence, to entice the system back into dependency. The same voices that now support sovereignty may begin to question whether it was worth it if the populace loses patience, if rice prices rise once more, if salaries stagnate, or if roads remain damaged for an extended period of time. The waiting room, not the battlefield, is where most revolutions fail. Thus, Traoré's current mission needs to be triple. Prior to convenience taking over, strengthen loyalty first. That implies that he needs to eliminate subtly saboteurs and fence-sitters from his administration. Those who make discreet calls to embassies after dark, but not during talks. Being surrounded by people who are on opposing sides is not something he can afford. Not right now. Decentralized pressure, second. He cannot depend on Ouagadougou for his entire survival. Youth brigades, village heads, and regional governors must be included in the effort as builders as well as supporters. Give each province a sense of ownership over the country's revival. They will watch things fall apart if they think it's just Traoré's idea. They will protect it like family if they believe it to be theirs. Third, and maybe most importantly, Traoré needs to speak the truth before someone else speaks a falsehood more loudly. He cannot downplay what is about to happen. The country is being attacked not only by armed insurgents, but also by banks, contractors, and people wearing suits. The public must understand that this is not a regular time. It's a frontline disguised as policy, a war disguised as help. He maintains the fire by identifying the adversary, outlining the risks, and demonstrating what is being constructed and why it is important. Gaiba won't be the beginning though, if you remain silent for too long, allows the story to veer off course, and allows uncertainty to fester in the silence. His heart will be the target of the blueprint, which will be duplicated, improved, and redirected. Because patience is the last card his adversaries have. They have seen the rise of Africa before. They have witnessed glimmerings of sovereignty that extinguish as the world turns its back. The only thing they can hope for is that Traoré will lose steam before they do. The onus is now on everyone who is watching, not just him. Because it won't make the news if he falls. There will be no sound. Do you believe that breaking Traoré is that simple? What do you think Traoré will do next? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. We explore the rich history, culture, and the ongoing struggle for sovereignty in Africa. Join us in this important conversation by subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed, you're becoming part of a movement dedicated to reclaiming Africa's rightful place on the global stage. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Let's work together to spread knowledge and inspire change. Thanks for watching.